Call this meeting to order, the Blackhawk County Board of Supervisors for August 9th, 2022. Roll call, Mr. Beater.
Leyland,
Here.
Little,
Here.
Schwartz, Trelka,
Here.
White.
Here, take a moment of silence to reflect on our actions of the day. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thanks.
Have the agenda received as proposed or as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Public comments? I don't see anybody out here in the crowd. And anyone online? Got any public comments? Next is claims and payments.
This week's expenditures total $457,480.70, of which secondary roads equals $113,094. We had a workers' comp premium payment of $39,418. Maintenance department $33,642, and finally sheriff's department $154,229. Everything is normal.
Thank you, James.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, this is a resolution. Please answer as your name is called.
Leyland,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Trelka,
Yes.
White.
Yes, resolution adopted. Next is receive project updates from department heads, elected officials. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning, Board. Kathy Nicholas, County Engineer. I just want to give you an update on the Grundy Road project. I am pleased to report that this week they are doing the final lift of asphalt paving on that road. They started yesterday, ASPRO did. They expect to finish by Thursday, weather permitting and no equipment breakdowns. Also on Thursday, the Asphalt Paving Association of Iowa is sponsoring an open house out there on the project near the church, the vicinity of the church out there. This is just to showcase the work that's going on, our design, and you're welcome to attend. The APAI, Asphalt Paving Association, has invited cities and counties. Whoever's interested in this type of project, you're welcome to show up. If you'd like to go, you can let me know. You can go out there with me. I'll be speaking just for a few minutes. Grundy County Engineer will speak. So we're excited about that, to be finishing the paving on that project. And then next week, ASPRO will be moving on to Eagle Road, which is closed right now between Desert Road and US 218. They just got finished cold in place recycling that project, and then they will be putting the new asphalt on top of that next week. Can I answer any questions at this time? Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other department heads or elected officials? Hearing none, minutes approved for August 2nd, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on any of the items? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next is consent agenda by resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion on any of the items. Hearing none, that's the resolution. Please answer as your name is called.
Little,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Trelka,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
White.
Yes, resolution adopted. Next is other business. This is a resolution that the amendment to the minutes of the Black Board of Supervisors meeting on June 21st, 2022 to show that the transfer of $125,000 from the general fund to the self-insurance property liability fund was the fiscal year 21-22, not fiscal 22-23 year. Be approved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I can speak to this, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
When we approved that, the self-insurance property liability reinsurance, that was for FY23. So when we went through that entire process, it was for FY23, but the transfer itself needs to be done in FY22, which was the previous budgeted year. So that just needs to be cleaned up so we can account for that accordingly for our audit.
Thank you, James. Any other questions for James? Hearing none, that's the resolution. Please answer as your name is called.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Jelka,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
White,
Yes, resolution adopted. Next, the motion to direct the county auditor to advertise for a public hearing to be held at 9:05 on Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022 in boardroom 201 of the Blackhawk County Courthouse on a proposed ordinance number 77-269 from a request submitted by Robert Adamico.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next, a motion to set a public hearing to be held at 9:07 August 23rd and to publish notice thereof in accordance with the Iowa Code for comment, discussion, and potential initial vote on a passage of an amendment to the county ordinance 12-25.080, cost of address markers, as well as for a decision on whether to suspend requirements for additional passage at subsequent meetings as set forth under the Iowa Code Section 331-302. Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item?
I have one question, and I asked this at the last meeting where we discussed this. Mike, wouldn't it be easier if we just change the ordinance now, and in the ordinance, if we do need to change the amount we're charging, just change it by resolution, so we wouldn't have to go through this inefficient process of meeting every time to change the ordinance?
And the problem that I've arrived at is that I can't see where we can tie this to some objective schedule of fines or schedule of charges to make this easy. I think that given the history of what we've done, given what I see other counties doing, we've generally stated amounts that are going to be charged, stated amounts that are going to be fined. And so I'd rather stick with that and err on the side of safety than potentially have somebody saying, well, you know, they didn't give this the kind of consideration that you should give for a change in law, so I'm not willing to do this, and we end up working a lot harder. I believe this is one of those that following publication can be passed on a single vote with the remaining votes waived if the board so desires to do that.
Gotcha.
So we're really alerting the public too that we're making the change and
Yep.
going through those motions, but
Yep. Until I see it done more the other way. I don't see anything that makes that illegal. I want to be clear about that.
Cities do it all the time.
I'm aware of that, but at the same time, this is how we've done it. I know this way is legal. I know it gives adequate notice, and so I'd rather stick with that.
All right.
Thank you, Michael. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, a motion to accept a resignation from James Perry as Finance Director effective September 2nd, 2022.
so moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, this saddens me. I mean, I had anticipated this because I know other entities were pursuing James. He's been an asset to the county. I didn't know him from Adam till he came here. We've become friends, but I become friendly with people that do effective jobs and are people of honor and integrity. So I'm sorry to see James go because of the asset he's been for the county, and my fear is others are going to follow.
I agree, 100%. Thank you, Mr. Trelka.
Thank you.
Any other quotes or any information that they want to share?
I just want to thank James as well for all of his hard work at the county.
I think you set that standard pretty high, Mr. Perry.
Thank you.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next, a motion to approve the personnel requisitions submitted by the Board of Supervisors for a Finance Director full-time replacement in order to begin the recruitment and selection process effective August 9th, 2022.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. Vesmeyer?
Good morning, Amanda Fezemeyer, Human Resources Director. So this will be a tough position to fill, we anticipate. I sent you all yesterday some information on the salary and the compensation, how it compares to similar counties, and just some information on when this job was last evaluated. It looks like that it was 2004, it was classified as a GS 25, and I think the market has outpaced that classification for compensation, so recommending that this position be reclassified up to a GS 29. That's to put the county in the strongest position to attract the highly qualified individuals for this very important role.
Thank you, Ms.
Is that part of this motion?
I don't know, is it?
It can't,
I
I
would
mean,
assume it needs to be. I
it
mean,
can be,
the
yeah, if you would like
classification,
to.
If we want to go the route
Mhm.
you're recommending. Sure.
This came kind of, quickly, so doing,
You bet.
but yes, if you would like to include it in the motion.
Wouldn't
Yes.
that be better to bring back next week and put on separately?
You could still start the process, can't you, or do you need
Yeah.
that
Well, I
taken care
can't
of too?
post, I'd like it to, to post the job and to post the salary. We could wait a week, but ideally we'd get it done sooner.
Who made the motion?
I did.
I would like to see it be part of the motion.
Okay.
And next week, I would like it on the agenda to discuss compensation for employees. Because we,
Are you moving to amend the motion?
yeah, if the person who made it is willing to.
No. You can make an.
Okay, yeah.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, aye.
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 I,
Opposed, motion carried. Next is
Yep.
this,
Sorry.
yes, sir.
That was a vote on his motion to amend. Now you
Yeah.
need to vote on the
The original.
amended motion.
Okay, now we'll vote on the original. We have a motion and a second on that too already, right?
That's
Okay.
correct.
All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried. Next is discussion, possible board action, a contribution to the National Dairy Cattle Congress Fair up to $1,500.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Well, I was just going to ask a question of Mike. Is this one of the things that I guess we were, is kind of counter to what we were directed by Rob Sands?
That's the way I'm looking at it. Unless we're characterizing this as economic development or service to the county, and I don't know what all factors we can look at with regard to the fair. But if this is simply donation, the way I read that directive from the state auditor is that those are prohibited.
from what I understand, Mike, what this is gonna do is they're putting out some kind of a brochure. City of Waterloo, Cedar Falls, they want the county on there also.
Well, he asked for a fair sponsorship,
Right.
right?
That's
Yeah,
what
it's
it
on
is.
that brochure that they're gonna publish to the Blackhawk County people.
Well, I would imagine the argument can be made that this is some form of economic development move. It would be up to the board to deliberate on that, but I think it should be very clear that that's the public purpose that's being served by this, in the event the board passes this funding.
Well, with it, I guess my concern is just, we get tickets, there are tickets that we receive. I mean, and I'd love to sponsor this. This isn't that I don't want to. I just thought we're kind of doing counter to what we said we were going to do with public funds. And so, like I said, with this, I thought we set up to $1,500, I think was stated, somebody maybe put on there. And it includes the county's name in newsprint and fair brochures, obviously, but it does say we receive admission tickets, a free exhibit booth at Estelle Hall for the 5-day fair. I mean, there's different things that we receive from it. I just want to be sure we're above board and not criticize later, which is what we were trying to do when we did.
I'm sure this happens in other counties.
I would imagine it does.
Yes.
I think counties, now other counties typically have a county fair that the county actually sponsors. I think the case would be made in those, if only for reason of tradition, that those are a move for economic
Right.
development. So again, I don't want to sound like I'm a broken record here, but
Other than that, they just require. I mean, they just zip tie it up.
Ryan, we can hear you. Could you mute, please?
Well,
So,
what would
what
we
if-
need to do to have it be considered as economic development, or is there anything, I guess, or those types of arguments, I guess, just to protect us?
so this is my thought. Number one, I think if the county has a booth where it can utilize that to advertise for services that we provide, or to perhaps kind of make people aware of how to access their county government. I think that now that's not economic development, but that would be another justifiable reason under a number of other public purposes on that list that this board approved. As far as the economic development, I see it, there's never a guarantee on these things that they're going to work. And we're talking about $1,500 here. But at the same time, I think some discussion to say, I think the fair is a worthwhile cause. Say it brings people in from out of town, or it brings exhibits in from different businesses. It showcases the businesses we have locally, and you can go on and on. Those types of things would justify it under economic development, in my opinion.
So if we have someone to work the booth, or I guess would be working on behalf of the county, which I know might be
That would be one thing.
it's one thing we could say
Or
a
ser-
service or something we're contracting for.
Exactly, to make people know how to access their government or what their government provides. But even if you didn't, let's say all you did was put a rack of brochures there, you could claim some benefit from that. But on economic development, I'm saying that's a completely separate ground, in my opinion, and you can justify it under that ground, in my opinion.
Easily.
I believe so.
There's a lot of booths that aren't maintained out there that they just put brochures out and stuff, so I think we'd be covered.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons you're covered. I think the important thing is that we're having this discussion right now to show that we gave it that consideration.
Mr.
Can I ask
Weaver,
a
you got
question?
something to say?
I was just curious, so this is something that they sent to the cities and as well as the county. Do you have any idea how the city justifies it, because they're under the same rules we are, as expressed by the state auditor?
Well, that question occurred to me, and I'm not aware of what discussion the city may have had in approving this. But having said that, or any of the cities would have had in approving this, but having said that, I would imagine that the cities would look at it. I mean, I'm speculating here, let me be clear, but I would imagine that they'd look at it in much the same way when it comes to economic development. They're looking at local businesses and others locally who benefit from having an event like this.
When I see so many opportunities for department heads, if they desire to man that booth for a couple hours, for recruitment for employees, for services offered by public health, for all we do to maintain roads and bridges, endless possibilities for department heads that want to participate in this opportunity.
Could the 4-H fair fall under the same?
Absolutely, it's
Something like that.
just a
Okay.
matter
I
of,
just thought that was something they asked us before too, or to ask us to vote.
it's a matter of weighing the pros and cons for the county from the point of view of those public purposes that we've discussed in the past.
So I have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? I'll ask for a roll call vote on this.
And what was the amount? It said for up to 1,500. Is that what our
1,500.
motion is for?
I don't, did we have a motion made?
Yep.
Yep,
Yes.
Yep.
Ready?
yep.
Elka?
Yes.
Leyland?
Yes.
Little?
Abstain.
Schwartz?
Yes.
White?
Yes. Passes. Thank you. Moving on. Discussion, possible board action, department head list for Blackhawk County. Who put this on, James?
I can speak to this a little bit, or at least get the conversation started. There was, as of recently, there was a little bit of ambiguity on who qualifies as, quote, a department head. And so then I wanted to have this discussion, and after looking back, it looks like at the organizational meeting that was held on January 3rd, there was only a few of us that was actually appointed as department heads. And so that is something that I wanted to have that conversation as to I guess, who qualifies as a department head, and whether that's whether that action at the organizational meeting even needs to take place. I know that when we originally had done that, that was an actual classification for those employees, and now that that classification is no longer there, there's only one quote classification department head that works for the county, from my understanding, and so it's I guess it's just one thing that just needs to be a little bit more clear, I suppose, moving forward. So I was hoping to have that discussion, and Linda kind of piggybacked on that as well. So
Sure. Well, and I thought James and I, went back and forth on this a little bit a couple of weeks ago when I said the reason was, as everybody knows, the agenda procedure, and making sure that I said that people were able to, I guess, add items, whether or not they were elected officials or department heads. And I said the elected officials, very clear. We all know which ones what that applies to. But I said there has been, and I guess when you say ambiguity, there is over some people being a department head and considering department heads. And I said there's a list that goes out from our office that is a department head list, kind of a mailing list. There's also a department head meeting. That's a different list. And so I really haven't heard anybody have any questions or concerns about it before, but I thought this brought up a good point. I said to James, maybe there is some clarification that's needed, or maybe there's been some confusion. The organizational meeting was a perfect example too. When we look back, I said at the history of that, there's been anywhere from 2 people that were in the identified as department heads in those meetings to 5 in 2022. So I didn't know, like I said, just wanting to be, I understand James' point, to be clear, but there is no salary or benefits type of information that, is tied to it. So I guess, yeah, clarification for what point. I know he mentions the organizational meeting. And after you said that yesterday, I did look back last night in just 3 counties quickly to see in their organizational meetings if they had classification of department heads, and 3 didn't. That's all I took the time to look at. So I don't know the importance of that, or if it's just something that's been added to the agenda for years, and we've not, like I said, done anything about it, because for the most part it's changed over the years.
So it looks like it's pretty much clear anyway. If they show up for the department head meeting, they must be a department head, or they shouldn't be there. Or don't
yeah,
need
I
to
mean,
be there.
the
That's pretty, I guess
That's a
we
good point.
can straighten it out easy enough, but I don't see any reason to straighten it out, because it doesn't look like there's any
Yeah.
need to straighten it out.
So that is part of it. I mean, the solution can be
Yeah.
quite simple. Is anyone really who controls their own budget or controls their own quote department should be considered a department head. But I think that's kind of just an internal conversation, and I would agree with you. I mean, it is quite simple on many cases. So
What's the pleasure?
I don't know.
Make everybody that attends a department head meeting a department head, right?
I've seen laws enacted to compensate for a lack of sensibility. Does the board need to take
Yeah.
official
Any
action to overcome
I hope not.
this
Hard
nonsense?
Let's hope not. Yeah.
Well, moving on then. Discussion, possible board action, the ARPA update and Baker Tilly's progress. Who's handling this? You, James?
I will as well. It seems like I'm talking a lot this meeting, but.
Yes, you are.
So as far as the Baker Tilly updates, we did meet with, and by we, I mean Mike and I, we met with Colby yesterday just to kind of discuss a few things. We have set up meetings with the subject matter experts, which in this case is typically the individuals who submitted those projects to Baker Tilly. And we have set those meetings up for this week, so they will finalize the evaluations by the end of next week, and then provide those to the county. So those evaluations should be coming in here shortly, which will be nice to see and nice to get our hands on. They did deem all sewer projects and HVAC projects ready to move forward, so they So those are set, and they said those are very low risk. So that was as expected, but good to have again in our hands. I anticipate again setting that ARPA committee meeting up for late next week. So once we get those evaluations in hand, we'll be able to move forward, have those discussions. Anything that is has a variance from what our original thought mentality was to what the evaluations are, obviously we'll send those to and have a discussion with the Board of Supervisors on how to move forward. As of right now, there's only one project that seems to not necessarily fit the ARPA bill, and that would be that turtle top van for conservation. So again, I don't necessarily anticipate more than just that one, but we won't know until we have those evaluations. So we're still kind of moving through that. And then finally, the other large one that we're kind of getting a little bit hung up on is the evidence intake facility. It was deemed eligible, but we are pending a write-up from Shive Hattery. Shive Hattery is they're kind of in this motion to say, we don't really want to provide a write-up for the sheriff's department because there's no contract in place, but we can't put a contract in place until they do a write-up. And so we're trying to move through that with Shive Hattery a little bit. But
I think there's an effort they're going to try to do some consulting so that Shive Hattery can assist in the written justification.
right.
And then hopefully that would be like a separate little contract service.
Right. Or depending. I know that Mark Herbst was going to see if we didn't even have to do that, if we could just kind of move forward and kind of go on a good faith handshake type deal. So that is kind of the update as of right now. There will be more to come at the end of this week and especially in the next week. So.
Thank you for that update.
Will they present, like they'll present it to you as a committee or whatever, then will you present to the board, or will they be doing that? Will they get involved?
They do. We asked that question yesterday. They do want to get back in front of you as well, provide that update, provide a presentation. Yep, at a meeting. Now, when that is, I don't know. As far as the current projects go, again, if everything is in place and where we thought they were going to be, it would be a pretty short discussion. But I think that once they provide those evaluations, they do want to get back in front of you and do want to talk about moving forward and the process. So, but yeah, so short answer, yes, they do want to get back in front of the Board of Supervisors and have that discussion as a group.
So on some of them, it doesn't seem that they're any clearer than we were to begin with on some of the stuff that we want to do.
No, there's so much that goes into these projects. There's so much that goes into this final rule that they're really just trying to make sure that they're leaving no stone unturned. And Mike can attest to it. It is. I mean, we've been through the thick of it. We've had these conversations with Baker Tilly. There is a lot to go through. There's a lot of different avenues to look at, different perspectives, and there's everything that's placed in the evaluations or the questionnaires that we submit to them. Writing can be taken one of two ways, and so what we feel like may be a very simple process or a simple explanation, coming from a consultant that isn't close to these projects, they might need a little bit more conversation to be had. So I think they're really thorough, which is a good thing. We're really making sure that we're not going to be sending this money back. So I think we're very close. We just need that final follow up with the subject matter experts.
And the important thing is that in the end, because there is going to be some pushback from Baker Tilly or some kind of cautionary advice concerning certain capital projects. And the important thing is that the board's aware of all of that because there are considerations that came through this final guidance that weren't there initially when we started making approvals for these funds. If anything, I think this has taught us there's not a lot of truly easy answers on these projects. So,
So there's ongoing changes going as we go along too, right?
Absolutely.
That's the bad part.
yeah, and there's not ongoing changes right now to the
There are
to the
Final.
advice or to the guidance. The problem is that the nobody
It's
knows how
government.
this is going to be treated because there's no test cases.
Yeah. Moving on. Any reports or information from the board?
Chairperson White? On the agenda for next week, I'm going to place the compensation study. We need to give this a priority. So next week, we will be discussing it, whether you want to participate or not.
Thank you. Anything else to come before us? We'll be going into closed session.